Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here on a snowy evening in the Big Apple, or as I like to call it, the Concrete Jungle. This is Claude White, Claude Sports Corner, and tonight's topic. Now, before I get into the NFL picks for Week 11, I have to do it, man. Shannon Sharpe. I know if you're not familiar with the show Undisputed, and I'm pretty sure being sports fans, I know all of you are. God damn. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. Shannon Sharpe is unlistenable. I mean, damn. Now, obviously, want to congratulate LeBron James. He passed Wilt Chamberlain. He is now, if I'm not mistaken, in fifth place as far as the all-time leading scorers in NBA history. Listen, it took LeBron James 15 plus years to surpass Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain only played 13 seasons, about 12 full seasons. He was injured a lot the final year of his career. But when you look at Wilt Chamberlain's averages per season, they dwarf LeBron's. And I'm not knocking LeBron in any stretch of the imagination. LeBron is not a score-first basketball player. He is a pass-first basketball player, always has been. But he's one of those guys who is a great all-around player with the ability to score. Wilt Chamberlain in his career was a great scorer. Now, he was also a great rebounder, of course. And let's face it, the NBA was totally different when Wilt and Chamberlain was playing. When Wilt was playing, the center was the actual center of attention. The big man, it was a big man's league. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, man, he played in watered down. First of all, he played at a time when the league was very strong. LeBron actually is playing in a watered down league. Now, the center position, obviously, during LeBron's era is not the same as when Wilt played. When Wilt Chamberlain played against Bill Russell, spanning all the way to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bob Lanier. Listen, he played during those times, Walt Bellamy, Nate Thurman. A lot of great centers come to mind that went up against Wilt Chamberlain. He still more than held his own, if not thoroughly dominated those guys. Wilt Chamberlain sort of gets the short end of the stick when they talk about all-time greats, when they talk about the GOATs in NBA history. Oh, well, he only won 2 championships. Yeah, those 2 championships were among the 2 greatest teams in NBA history. And in fact, the final championship that Wilt Chamberlain won, that Laker team won 33 straight. That is a record that might never be broken. And of course, they won an NBA title, and he also won he won 68 and 67 games. 67 games with the 1966-67 Philadelphia 76ers. Try saying that 5 times fast. And of course, the 71-72 Lakers, where he actually sacrificed his game for the good of the team. In fact, the leading scorer of that particular Lakers team was Gail Goodrich. It wasn't Jerry West or Wilt Chamberlain. Now, Wilt did everything else. He was a great defensive player. In fact, he definitely gets shortchanged when it comes to defense and rebounding. Wilt Chamberlain is among the all-time greats who have ever played in NBA history. He is, without a doubt, a legend. And I tell you what, with that, also, I can guarantee you that LeBron will never catch Wilt Chamberlain's other record. I can guarantee you that. And that's 30,000 of the female persuasion. I don't think that old LeBron James is catching that record, but he does pass Wilt Chamberlain as far as points scored all time in NBA history. And that leads me to one Shannon Sharpe. Now, for those who don't know, Shannon Sharpe was a great tight end for both the the Denver Broncos and later on the Baltimore Ravens. He is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And by right, to be quite honest with you, his brother, Sterling Sharpe, should be in the Hall of Fame, should have been in before Shannon. And and let me tell you something, Shannon himself will tell you that. I'm not saying anything to hate on Shannon Sharpe. I can't. Shannon Sharpe was a wonderful pass-catching tight end. Now, Shannon Sharpe treated blocking sort of like Deion Sanders treated tackling. It was a business decision for him. But nevertheless, he is definitely a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest pass-catching tight ends of all time. Definitely in the Kellen Winslow mold. Winslow Sr., of course, not Junior. Junior had a so-so career, not a real great one. In fact, if you think about it, it was actually quite mediocre. I thought that Kellen Winslow Jr. was going to do great things in the league. He was slightly above average, but I digress. Shannon Sharpe, let me tell you something. I mean, he comes in this particular show, he has the goat head on. I mean, say what you want about that, and you can infer a lot of things with that, obviously. But I mean, we know the theme. Like, he feels that LeBron James is the greatest of all time. Listen, I understand LeBron James is one of the all-time greats. As far as I'm concerned, he is a better all-around player than one Michael Jordan. But listen, last 5 minutes of the game, there's no doubt who I'd rather have with the ball in his hands. It's obviously Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But again, LeBron James, he is just so unlistenable. I mean, it's almost like he's got LeBron's nuts on his chin, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and what makes it so bad is his speech has set black people back about 100 years. He can't talk worth a shit. He just can't. Look, this Skip. Skip, look at there. Look what Braun did today. He's real good, Skip. Man, he's the best ever. Let me take. I mean, damn. Just shut the fuck up, man. God. I mean, you just loosen up on the grip, man. God damn, Shannon. Shit. I mean, he's unlistenable, man. God. I understand he had won, I believe, a box of, I think, Hennessy Privilege or something like that. I mean, listen. I mean, whatever he drinks, that's good for him. But god damn, he's just hard to take, and it's so bad because it's bad enough to hear Skip Bayless's condescending ass on that fucking time. I tell you, Fox. God, they are so right. They are so far right. It is ridiculous. And then it's like Skip Bayless just takes pleasure. Like, hey there, hey, hold on there, nigger. I mean, I'm waiting for him to just say, and he's too smart to say the N-word, but you can tell it's like at the tip of his tongue, and he wants to say it so fucking bad. I mean, he's just so condescending, and the way he talks about LeBron James. I mean, we know that it's almost comedic banter between him and Shannon in some ways, but I mean, Skip Bayless is bad enough. But then when you couple that with Shannon's non-speaking ass, I mean, God, I mean, listen, there's nothing wrong with being country. I respect the South to an extent, especially when it comes to my ancestors and things of that nature. But to hear Shannon sometimes, I mean, he's downright fucking ridiculous, man. I mean, Skip. Oh, yeah. Let's see, Skip. Yeah, here's the thing, Skip. Yeah, look at LeBron Braun. Man, he still gets up there. Man, he's in phenomenal shape. Look at there, Skip. You see there? Yeah, he just he can't even say posterized. Look at that, Skip. Oh, man, he's good, Skip. Man, LeBron ain't nobody like him, Skip. He's the best who ever did it. Look what he did there. Yeah, he won a big game against here in Portland. You see that, Skip? I mean, god damn, he's just impossible, man. God. I mean, that man, I mean, he just he burns my earlobe, man. It's so fucking ridiculous. My eardrums are like just pounding hearing this guy. I mean, I don't understand how they let this man stay on the air. I mean, I understand Stephen A. Smith is annoying too, and his annoying is different because he's just, you know, I remember back in the day, it was Black and Proud. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is just fucking loud. I mean, he does everything to just annoy, and he just wants to talk over every fucking body. He's bad with that, but at least he has a grasp of the English language. This fucker Shannon Sharpe, man. Oh, Skip, let me tell you something, Skip. Oh, Skip. Look at that, Skip. Okay. Fuck. Just shut up. I mean, I just want to go through that fucking TV screen and be like, nigga, shut the fuck up. I mean, he's hard to take, man. God. Oh, man. Excuse me. And it's sad to say because he was a great player, and he actually, if you can stomach his talk, he actually makes good points. But he's unlistenable. He really is. It's like, God damn. Please shut up. I mean, you almost hope that he loses his voice. He'd sound 300% better. It's terrible. And then what makes it worse is sometimes Eric Dickerson is there, and you know what? Both of those guys sound like they're both punch drunk. I mean, they're both hard to tell you, like, yeah, Skip. And you know what, Shannon? I mean, they're both bad. I mean, once upon a time back in the day, Eric Dickerson used to be on Monday Night Football, and you talk about unlistenable. God damn. Between him and Joe Drunk Namath, I mean, those telecasts were god-awful, man. And that was right during the transition phase where Howard Cosell had left. Dandy Don Meredith, I believe, might have been just holding on. And that was like, I think he had left, actually. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he had left and he had passed away later on. But I think he was long gone by then. But they were making the transition. That was right before Deerdorf and those guys came in. And the Monday Night Football audience was really starting to plummet a little bit. And that's why they're no longer on ABC, but now their ESPN has the Monday Night Football package. And let's face it has not been the same since it's been on ESPN. But that goddamn Shannon Sharpe, man, he's just... in fact, this is my last thing on Shannon. I don't know if you guys remember years ago. I mean, they were talking about Peyton Manning getting other offensive coordinators head coaching jobs, and Shannon Sharpe was talking. I mean, I don't know whether this guy drank too much Hennessy Privilege or too much Hennessy White or too much VSOP. I don't know what it was, but he kept saying head jobs. I mean, it was like, oh my God, nobody's gonna stop this motherfucker. Excuse my French. I mean, damn, he kept saying, oh, you see, Al Gaines got him a head job, and so-and-so got him a head job, and whatever offensive coordinator, he got him a head job. And you see all the head jobs that Peyton Manning was getting them guys? I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. They're not gonna stop him. I mean, they're gonna let him keep saying head jobs? I mean, do you realize how foolish this motherfucker sounds right now? And no one stopped him. I mean, it was like the Fox Sports was just laughing at him like, fucking, we want the ratings. We don't care how bad Shannon Sharpe sounds. And they just let him go. And I'm like, come on, man. No one's going to stop him, break for a commercial. I mean, let him know that he doesn't sound right saying head jobs. I mean, I wish somebody had recorded that and put it on YouTube or Google it or something. But, I mean, my God, Shannon Sharpe, man, please. Someone please find him a speech therapist or something. But that's enough on him. Now it's time for NFL picks for Week 11. Now, my overall record is 28-13 with a winning percentage of .683. I did a so-so job. I was 4-2 last week. In fact, the last 2 weeks I've been 4-2, which would give me obviously an 8-4 record. So way over 500. But I want to do better. I want to go back to the 6-0 that I had 3 weeks ago, excuse me now. Excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me for that. Let me start with tonight's game, which is a Thursday night game. That is the Green Bay Packers going to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Listen, conventional wisdom would tell you that Seattle should win this football game. And Seattle does normally play well at home. But I think that the Pete Carroll's time in Seattle is going to draw to a close. Now, I understand that the guy across from him, Green Bay's Mike McCarthy, is under more scrutiny than him. And in fact, there has been a rift, and you can sort of tell that there's a rift between Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. You can sort of see it. But let me tell you something. On that Seattle Seahawks side, those guys are sick of Pete Carroll. There are still enough players from that Seattle team that remember that they had a chance to go back-to-back and be a true dynasty. And Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson threw that away in one February evening. And they have not sniffed the Super Bowl since. They've barely, in fact, they didn't even make the playoffs last season. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this season. And I just think that the Packers are more desperate and they have the best player on the field. Their defense, they're about the same. I want to say that Seattle's might slightly be better, but I can't. I just think that, you know what, sometimes that window closes real fast. And with Seattle, that time is gone. I mean, once they got rid of Sherman, well, really, once they got rid of Marshawn Lynch, he was the heart and soul of that team. I mean, they were never going to be the same. And listen, Russell Wilson has done all he could with this team. Their offensive line has gotten better. They have run the football better, but so has the Green Bay Packers. I like the Packers in an upset, a slight upset, 27-24 over the Seattle Seahawks this Thursday night game. Now, the next game I'm going to do will be the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco, it looks like he's not going to play this week. And listen, you could have pulled Joe Flacco probably 2 weeks ago and been doing the right thing. And it's sad because they have wasted a great defensive effort by this Ravens team. This Baltimore Ravens team has one of the best defenses in the NFL, but they have nothing let's basically say they have nothing to show for it, especially over the last 3 weeks. They have been dreadful on the offensive end. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson has been getting first-team reps. I would like to see them have Lamar Jackson start this week. I do believe that they are leaning towards it. They might as well look to the future. The only problem with that is John Harbaugh is also playing for his football life as head coach of the Ravens, and he probably still feels that Flacco gives him the best chance to win. I don't think so. I know Lamar is not the most accurate of deep throwers, but right now you have to give them a run pass element. They don't have that. Their running game stinks, and they actually have decent receivers, so that's sad, but they have to do something to shake up this offense. Now, the Bengals, let's face it, they're just bad. I mean, A.J. Green, I think, was going to go on IR. I don't think he's going to play. Now, Andy Dalton has been half-ass, which is typical Andy Dalton. Marvin Lewis, he looked like he should be on the way out, but let's face it, for some reason, I don't know whether he's got dirty pictures of the goddamn owner, Mike Brown, but for some reason, they just keep this man, and he just keep churning out mediocre records after mediocre records. But also one thing about the Bengals though, they always give the Ravens fits. It's crazy. Baltimore, in some ways, would rather see the Steelers than the Bengals because the Bengals always give the Ravens a hard way to go. That is a low-key tough matchup for that team. And if Lamar Jackson's starting, I think he's going to take a few lumps because they can still get after that quarterback, the Bengals. And for some reason, I think Cincinnati's going to pull it out this week. I like the Bengals 27-17 over the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens can score enough. They just don't. They have been underachievers on the offensive end all year long. And I expect it to continue this Sunday. Now, the next game is the Tennessee Titans taking on the Colts in the AFC South. Both of these teams are basically mirror images of each other. The only thing is Marcus Mariota versus Andrew Luck. And I understand that that's not the same Andrew Luck out there as 3 or 4 years ago. He's still better than Marcus Mariota. And it's crazy. Tennessee has the better overall team. They do. Now, I expect the Colts to actually keep it very close. T.Y. Hilton has played pretty decent. I do think their defense does not get enough respect. But that being said, the Tennessee Titan defense is better. They beat up on New England. Let's face it, they just thoroughly beat them up. Now, I understand they also did that to Philadelphia, and then they tanked for a while. But now they are looking to win 3 in a row. I believe they will do that this week. I like the Tennessee Titans against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. I like them to win this game 24-20. Now, the next game I'm going to choose, the Philadelphia Eagles will take on the New Orleans Saints. This Philadelphia Eagles team, a lot of injuries last week. They lost their corner for the season. I forgot who else they lost, but let's face it, the Eagles are going to be another one in the long list of Super Bowl champions who failed to make the playoffs the following season. And let's face it, it is tough to defend, especially when you have only a third-year NFL head coach. I think Doug Peterson has underachieved this year where he overachieved last year. Carson Wentz has played very well. The rest of the team has not. His offensive line has fell off. Losing Jay Ajayi really hurt. Not being able to replace him has hurt worse. They've done it by committee, and that's been mediocre at best. Their defense was not playing good at all, and then they lost their best corner in Darby. They're going to get torched. This was the worst possible time to lose a corner against Drew Brees in New Orleans. I understand that they lost Dez Bryant last week. You see that, that affected them very little. They still got that 1-2 punch of Kamara and Ingram. They have a great receiving player in Michael Thomas, who's about the third best receiver in the league. Listen, the best receiver is still Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. Then right now would be Michael Thomas. Then you want to put that Thielen kid there. I don't mind. I don't mind that. But he's definitely step for step with those guys. I love New Orleans, man. Their defense has played much better than I expected them to play after week 1. Now, the Eagles are going to put up some points, but I expect the Saints to win 38-28 over the Philadelphia Eagles. The Sunday night game will be the Minnesota Vikings going to Soldier Field to take on the Bears. The Bears looked very dominant last week. But for that matter, so did the Vikings against Detroit. Back-to-back conference, within the division games. Those guys know each other well. Now, I don't know what the weather is. I do expect the weather to be a bit of a factor in Chicago. When that wind whips up in Chicago, it is hard to throw the football. I don't trust Kirk Cousins in that. Now, should I trust Mitch Trubisky in that? Listen, he's had more time in the elements than Cousins, especially this year. The worst thing the Minnesota Vikings ever did was going to a dome stadium because it took away the elements for them. People used to dread going to Minnesota, and conversely, Minnesota used to be able to travel to places like Chicago and go and play, and also, of course, Lambeau Field. They used to go into those places and play well. Now, I mean, they're almost like a warm weather team. I mean, Minnesota, they don't have the same bite. They just don't. Now, on the defensive end, though, they are starting to round back into form. I mean, but they can't keep Dalvin Cook on the field. Both teams are enigmas, but I think that Chicago is playing the better football. They're a more together team. I like the way Nagy has coached this team. Mike Zimmer, I mean, he comes from that Marvin Lewis school, and you know where that gets you. It gets you a loser. And I think the Bears will win this Sunday night game by a score of 27-24 over the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Monday night game has the Kansas City Chiefs going in to play the LA Rams. You know, I like the Kansas City Chiefs. I really do. I love Pat Mahomes. He's a wonderful quarterback, makes all the throws. We all know that. Kareem Hunt is one of the top 5 running backs in the league. Tyreek Hill is the best deep threat in the league. That Kansas City defense is dreadful. Remember back in the day when Peyton Manning was with the Colts and they had that bend don't break defense with Tony Dungy, but at least those guys could rush the passer. And the Chiefs can get to the quarterback too when Justin Houston is healthy. And you know what? Dee Ford is actually pretty good rushing the passer also. But that's secondary. They stink. Their linebackers aren't that great either. This is the worst possible matchup. The Rams coming off a loss in a game that they could have won. Jared Goff. Now, here's the thing, too. Cooper Kupp, that loss is huge for that team because Cooper Kupp was one of his go-to guys on third down. And he was a big-time receiver for that team. But they still have Todd Gurley. They still have Brandon Cooks. They still have Robert Woods. They've got Everett, the tight end. Higbee has done a pretty decent job. And let's face it, the biggest difference is the Ram defense. I mean, Aaron Donald is right now the defensive player of the year, bar none. He is the best defensive lineman that I've seen in the past 20 years. I mean, he's Reggie White type. He really is. I mean, I think that he is overall better than J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt in his prime was a wonderful defensive end, but Aaron Donald can play both the tackle and the end, very similar to Reggie White. I tell you what, Ndamukong Suh has quietly had a very good season also because he takes on that extra guy to free. You cannot double team Donald. You double team Donald, then Suh's going to get you. I mean, that was a smart move, and that was an under the radar move that helps makes the Rams Super Bowl contenders. I like the Rams big in this game. If the Chiefs will keep it close, it's going to be a shootout. I like the Rams 34-31 over the Kansas City Chiefs. And those are my picks for Week 11 in the NFL 2018. Please like and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claude White. Please take care and God bless.